When it comes to recording content for either courses or indeed really YouTube or any other video content that you're creating, so often having the actual idea or the outline of what you're going to talk about is not the sticking point. It's just hitting record. This came up in the live session for the Digital Stage Launchpad program that I'm running at the moment. It's a 15-week program to help people launch their courses. And somebody in there just happened to say, the problem is not the outline. We were talking about outlining and creating the structure for the course. It's just like, how do you actually hit record? Because it just seems so overwhelming to be thinking about recording a long form video and then chopping it up, doing all of the editing and then putting it all together. It just feels like a big sticking point. And I completely relate, because that's the very reason that I started this channel 4 years ago, or whatever it was now, because I was trying to get over the process of editing, because that for me was the sticking point as well. There are all sorts of things associated with that, such as the perfectionism that comes with wanting to get that perfect take. And then there is the editing, and that is another whole skill in itself to be able to, edit things properly. So wanting to do things in one take was, my thing. And that is obviously why the channel's called, I say obviously, but some people still don't realize all the videos on my channel, apart from the live ones, which are obviously one take, but the pre-recorded are all one take videos as well. And that's also how I make my course videos as well for my Kajabi courses. So I thought today what I'd do is just go through step by step the process of basically creating those videos and thinking about the outline first of all in Ecamm Live. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first of all, let's start then just taking a step back with the outline, because there was another thing that came up with this comment yesterday about how they record a long video and then chop it up and edit it all together, or edit it into smaller pieces. Well, the way that I make my courses is I do break them down into as shorter videos as possible. And the feedback that I've got from that, and the reason why I do it, is that people do like the course to be in shorter bite-sized pieces. And this is useful for a number of reasons. First of all, it means that it is kind of more bingeable. If you are the viewer going through a course and you come into a course and then you start to look at the videos and there's a video that's like an hour long, you might just feel like, oh, well, I don't have an hour to spare at the moment, so I'll save it till I've got a whole hour. Whereas if you've just got, a 3-minute video, a 4-minute video, 5-minute, whatever it is, it's a lot easier to think, well, I'll just watch one more and one more and one more. And so in the end, it adds to somebody having a much better flow through the course, because they are able to just sort of go through them in small little bite-sized pieces. The other reason it's useful is because if you have got, a series of different topics, and we'll talk about how to split up your course in a moment, you don't have to think that things are going to get lost in a really long form video. You can literally have a video for every single, subtopic within the broader topic that you are talking about, and split your overall course down into modules and split the modules down into lessons, and each one can be on a specific topic. This then makes it obviously far more searchable, because people are just going to see a list of titles for the lessons, which are going to directly relate to what they're going to learn in the course. So that again is far better as a viewer to be able to easily see that outline at a glance. The other thing then is, of course, it makes it easier to record, because instead of you recording, an hour-long video, you are just focused on a short little 3-minute video. And I do say that although my channel is Take One Tech and it's always done in one take, it's actually not technically take one. It might be take two, take three. And so if you are making a mistake in a 3-minute video, then obviously you haven't lost as much as if you were to go and re-record, an hour-long video. Not that I would suggest doing that, but just starting then with a short video and then try and go through it in one go. If you do happen to mess up in a serious way, then you can always just go back and re-record it. And by the way, I do say in a serious way, I mess up in my videos all the time. If you've watched any of my courses, quite often there is a little part where, I'll just misspeak or say something slightly wrong and just go and correct myself, mid-sentence. That's perfectly fine. I think it adds an element of realism that people just don't mind. I think we're too hypercritical of ourselves, thinking that everything has to be absolutely perfect. Whereas in actual fact, if you were just sitting across a table from somebody speaking to them, quite often people will just misspeak or say things slightly wrong, and it's just part of normal conversation. So in actual fact, leaving those things in actually makes it more relatable, and people will feel that they've got that better connection with you anyway, because you're just basically looking through the lens, looking at them and delivering the message as if you were just, as I say, sitting right opposite the table from them. The other thing that is useful then about the idea of creating these short videos is if at any point in the future you do need to go and update the content, you don't need to necessarily update a large video or re-edit a large video. You can just go and drop in either a new module or a new lesson in between the other lessons, or you can go in and just take out one of the old lessons and drop in a new updated one. So it makes it a lot easier from that point of view. So that's why the shorter form videos are going to work really well. And we'll talk about how to get Ecamm set up for this in a little moment. But I thought it'd be also useful to just think about like how to actually break down the course as well, because it can be quite daunting thinking about, how do you create the overall outline. And really what it comes down to is, we talked about this in the Digital Stage Launchpad. We've just gone through the first sort of 5 weeks, and this week was week 6. And the first 5 weeks were all about sort of clarity, basically clarifying your goals, your message, the transformation that you're offering, and the product and the offer and all of those sorts of things. So just to sort of quickly run through that, not in depth, but just at a high level. The first thing you need to start with any course is understanding, like, what are you actually doing it for? What is the bigger picture that you're aiming towards? And that is in the sense of your own personal goals. How does this fit into your overall, longer term vision? Where does this fit? But then also think about this in terms of obviously your target audience. Who is that? Who is this going to be helping? And what specific problem are you looking to help those people solve? Now, it may well be that you've got a target audience. Let's say I'm helping people, show up on video and harness the tech better to look and sound more professional in their video content, but also to then go and monetize and build a business out of that. Well, that's actually quite a broad thing. That's not something that's going to go into a single course, but there may well be individual courses, and that's why I've got a whole range of courses and the Academy that gives access to all of them, where you are just focusing in on one particular part. So getting clarity on, yes, the overall bigger picture of who you're helping and what problem you're helping them solve and what aim you are helping them get to, what goal you're helping them get to, but then focusing in on what is the transformation that you're offering with this one particular course. So I might have a course, for example, which is how to get your studio set up. That is just one small component of the bigger picture, but that would be the topic for the the course, how to get your home studio set up, ready to record. So once you've decided on the actual transformation that you're offering in the course, then you want to think about, well, what are the milestones that people might need to go through in order to actually reach the goal that you're promising, or the transformation that you're promising. And that then would form the sort of high level outline of your course, the module structure, if you like. Now, I could take, for example, the Digital Stage Launchpad program that I'm running. That's got 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is the clarify phase, is clarifying all the things I've just talked about, your goals, the transformation, the product you're creating, the offer you're creating, and how that fits into the broader ecosystem. Then there is a build phase. So once you've decided what course you're making, there's a phase where you've got to actually build it. And that requires going into more detail about your course outline. That's what we were talking about just this week, just yesterday, in fact, at this time. Then there is, creating any assets that are related to those individual lessons. So any guides, any checklists, or any things that are going to accompany it. Then you're going to need to create things like the landing page and the actual structure of the course itself. And then there is a launch phase. So that would be another phase that you move on to, which is the launch process. And so that's going to involve setting up, the sales funnel, the automation sequences, the email onboarding sequences, and things like that. And then finally, the launch of actually, launching it into the world, sending out those emails, posting on social media, and all of those sorts of things. So thinking about the transformation, that you are going to offer, and then thinking about how to break that down into milestones, those are going to create the sort of core modules that you're going to have in the course. Coming back to a home studio, for example, it might be, getting your camera set up, getting the audio set up, getting the lighting set up. Those are 3 specific things, so breaking down the transformation into milestones. And once you've got that, then you break down those milestones into the individual lessons that are going to come into that. So again, switching between analogies here, but with the video studio masterclass, for example. So there is the audio section. Well, first you need to understand microphones and choose the microphone. Then there might be a lesson on microphone positioning. There might be a one on, audio, acoustic insulation in your studio. So those are sort of distinct lessons that all come under that particular milestone of getting your audio dialed in. So you then break your modules down into lessons, and then within those lessons, the next step would then be to think about, are there going to be any resources that you are going to want to share with this? Maybe, first of all, there might be slides that you are going to use as part of the course if you're going to be sharing any information on screen. It might be that there's any downloads, so it might be a downloadable checklist or a downloadable list of gear, for example, in the Studio Masterclass, something like that. So you want to outline all of those things. So then once you've got all of those things ready, then you can start actually making those assets, making those presentations, and then you can start to record the course. So that's just a really sort of whirlwind 15 minutes or 10-minute intro to like the sort of process of getting prepared to actually create the course itself. Obviously, I go into more detail in the launchpad that we're running at the moment, but this is all just a sort of preparation to say that, you know, this is how you get to the point of being ready to record in really short overview. The next thing then is to actually create the slides that you're going to use in your production. And you may well know, if you followed my stuff, that I'm a huge advocate of using Keynote in conjunction with Ecamm Live, because Keynote is a presentation software. Ecamm Live is live production, and you put the two together and it works really well. You can create a really sort of lightweight setup in terms of just a couple of scenes in Ecamm, some slides and templates in Keynote that then can allow you to do some really interesting presentations. And if you combine this with the live video feature in Keynote, then you can create a really immersive experience where, you know, information just sort of slides onto the screen around you and so on. That said, I know that Keynote is not for everyone, because you do often start with pretty much a blank canvas, and it does require an element of sort of design expertise to really get the most out of it. There are other tools like Canva, for example, where there's lots of templates that you can use. But there's another great tool that I highly recommend, which is gamma.app. And this is a great tool because, I'll drop a link to it in the description, because it is an AI-powered tool that allows you to quickly and easily create presentations. Now, you can do some really amazing stuff with this. And so if the sticking point of you recording is, you know, one step before hitting the record button itself, which is creating the slides, making them look professional, this is a great way to basically fast track that process. And I'll just give you a quick demo. I'm going to do some other videos on Gamma and how you can use it effectively. But just to give you a quick demo of when you go into Gamma app, you can start with your outline. So if you've got your complete outline of your course, maybe with some notes, you can paste that into here, and then it will create the slides for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to generate something from a prompt. I wouldn't recommend necessarily using this. It's obviously better if you've got your own content to come in here to start with. But let's just use the idea of a home studio. I'd like to make a slide deck about the process of setting up a home video recording studio. So as I say, you wouldn't do it like this. You would actually put in your own outline because you're going to know what you want to say. But what it's going to do now is it's going to go through and create a series of slides for you talking about here, setting up home video recording studio. Step 1, plan your content and studio purpose. Choose the right location, set camera and accessories, set up lighting for professional look, invest in quality audio equipment. So it's coming up with some pretty interesting stuff. You can go through and edit all of these as well, but I'm literally doing this live. This is how long it is taking. I'm just going to leave this template. You can do all sorts of things like upload your brand templates and things like that as well. I won't do that right now because I just want to show you a quick example of how quickly this can generate your slides for you. Because as I say, this is, I know, a sticking point for some people, that they've got the idea, they know what they want to create, but maybe the presentation side of things is not their forte. So now what it's going to do is it's going to create these slides, and then it's also going to pull in some little images for you as well. As I say, if you've got your own outline, it's going to do a much better job of getting this. If you've got a PDF, by the way, what I did with this was, as a little test, I haven't really started using this in my own productions as such yet. I'm just in the sort of testing phase with it, but it's something that I'm introducing to people who are on this course that I'm doing at the moment, because it speeds up the process for them. I've still got all of my templates in Keynote already to go, so it's still quite effective and quick for me to just keep using Keynote. But I just want to show you the sorts of things that this can create though, because as you see, this is just in real time. It is now building out our entire slide deck, and it will start to add in all of these images. So one of the things I've found, by the way, it's probably not the best example. I've always found with AI generated images of studio equipment, if you know anything about studios, the technical equipment, like things like cameras, lighting and so on, they never look quite right because they're kind of AI generated. And so yeah, but you could always go through and actually drop in actual stock images here. And for most parts, they would be much better than this in any case. So yeah, but this is, you can see, done a great job of creating a slide deck. You can go in and edit all of these different things. It's talking about lighting setup. It's got the idea of fill light here, backlight. You can change the format of these, so change the size and shape of all of these things. It's all fully editable, but I won't do that now. As I say, I'm going to do a full set of tutorials on this a little bit later. One of the new features that was added in, which is really nice, if you want to add a little bit of movement to any of these images, is if you click on the three little dots here, and I'm going to probably not be able to find it. Oh no, it's here. This little magic wand tool here. Whoops, let me just click on this. This little magic wand tool here, it says Ask AI to, and then if I go to animate, it's going to add a bit of movement. It's going to change this particular image into an animated image. And so you can see here, it's just taking its time now, but in a moment, it's going to create that image as effectively as a movie file, and then it's going to drop that into there. So it's going to mean that when you load up your presentation, you've got a little bit of movement going on in it. So just give this a moment while it thinks. You can edit all of this, by the way. You can change like what you actually want it to do, but let's just see what it does with this particular image down here. Give it just a little moment. Let's see what it's done. Well, you see now the person is sort of moving, writing on the screen. And it's all the sort of tests that I've done of these things. It does a really good job of just adding some really nice movement to things. Let's just try one more. Let's see what it does with some of these other images. We could try this one here. Let's just make that a bit bigger. Probably not a good one because we can't see much of it. Let's try this one because there's a person moving some things. I'll try this one as well. Click on animate. It's going to animate this one. And what it means is, obviously, we're just looking at this and just going through the slides. But in a moment, I'll show you how you can present. And then we'll fit that into Ecamm. And I'll show you how you can pull all this together to create your videos in one take with no edits using Ecamm combined with the Gamma app. So just give this a moment and it will sort of add some movement and interest. And what that means is it's just going to add a little bit more interest and engagement as you are presenting. Don't go overboard with this, by the way. Sometimes with these animations, there's just too much going on. So here you can see it just looks like this person is subtly adjusting the light. Also, it's a bit weird sometimes when they just sort of loop and it's like maybe jarring. One thing I'd like to see them do with this, I mean, it's just a really early new feature that's been added, is maybe have the option to just have something play once and then stop rather than just loop round. But you can see, though, the fact that this is an AI generated image that just happened as part of creating the presentation. And then now it's also got the movement on it is a really nice feature. But once you've got your presentation, as I say, you can change all of the images out. You can click on any image and swap it out or ask for a new one. You can change all the details here. Once you've got that, there is a present button here, which is then just going to enable you to present your presentation just like this. And then you can move through the presentation sort of slide by slide. So given that we can do this, what would be good now is to see, well, how can we just actually add this in to Ecamm? So let's talk about how to set up Ecamm. Before I do that, though, I will just say a couple of hellos. Hey, Florence, great to see you here. Thanks for stopping by. And Mr. Hicks, the man himself, great to see you here as well. And then we've got Brian and Rich in the backstage as well. But yeah, great to see you all here. Thanks for coming along. So let me introduce you to Ecamm Live. Now, I happen to know that everybody who's in the chat or in the backstage knows all about Ecamm, but there is the off chance that there might well be somebody watching who is unfamiliar with Ecamm Live. So let me just give a very brief introduction to it and show how easy it is to create scenes. You've seen that I've been switching between, this scene with me. This is a scene, another scene, and this is just to introduce the terminology as well. Scenes are basically these different views. So think of them as like a different look to your content. sorry, a different view of your content. Then we've got this one here, which is sharing a screen. In this case, it's sharing that Gamma app. I've got another one here, which is sharing another screen. So you can see how, like, this is a live recording for the live stream, live recorded YouTube video, but this could equally be a course as well, where I was just introducing the content with me talking on screen, flicking up to a slide deck, coming back, maybe flicking over to a screen share and coming back. And we're doing it all live. It's all live to tape. As I say, this is a live stream, but we could just hit record and be recording our courses. So just to show you how easy it is to do all of these things in Ecamm Live, what I'm going to do is use a feature of Ecamm called Live Demo Mode. Now, this enables me to basically show you my screen, and you can see everything that I'm seeing, like in the Ecamm Live interface. So I talked then about scenes. So we have this window here, which is called the scenes window. This is this one over here. And the scenes window, whoops, if I don't minimize it like that, I don't want it to be too big. The scenes window, I've just done it again. Those hot corners catching me out. This is where you've got a list of all the different scenes. So here we're in my main scene. This is a scene if I've got a guest coming up. This is that comment scene. So I'm just basically switching between these different scenes. Now I'm doing this with Stream Deck, but I'll introduce that in a moment as well. So let's just go back to our main scene like this. In a given scene, you've got then things called overlays. Now, this can be either a camera. So in this particular scene, you can see that all I've got in here, if I just hide some of these things, in the main scene here, and if I go to the overlays window, this is showing me that all the elements that are on screen, what I've got in there then is the camera. So here you can see I've got my camera A, and if I just hide that, then that, whoops, unlock the scene, then that's going to hide that overlay. So it's very easy to build up new scenes though. If I just add a little plus here to add a new empty scene, I'm just going to take some of these things off in the background. So we start with just basically a blank canvas, but then what I can do is I can add my camera in. So I've just added my camera. Now I'm still actually in my temporary studio, my kids' playroom. Be moving into the new studio this week. But here I can just add my camera in. Let me just change the shape of this to 16:9. This isn't intended to be a full Ecamm tutorial, but it's just intended to show you how quickly you can actually build things out. So we've got my camera in there. I can add a green screen background simply by clicking on the little green screen button in the camera effects. We've got a backdrop there, but I might want to change the backdrop. So if I go down to here and switch on this one, the lounge background, that's the one that I was using before, and then we can do things like change the border width on the camera. So let's give that a bit of a border width like that, and then we could also change the border radius. So now we've got basically, if I just come out of demo mode, you can see that we've just got my camera floating around there in the screen, and at the moment the background is completely blank. Well, one thing that you can do with Ecamm is you can actually add in a background image that basically becomes, or a video that becomes, a sort of uniting feature across all of your different scenes. So let's do that step now, and I'm going to use this one actually, which is for the digital stage launchpad videos that I've been doing. And if I just hide my camera, all I've got here is just basically an image. This is kind of part of the Kajabi branding. And then I've got a video here that I've added over the top of it just to add a little bit of movement. But what that means is now when I've got my camera in there, it's giving a particular look and brand to this particular production, to these videos. If I create another scene now, I'm just actually going to duplicate this scene. And again, this is not intended to be a full Ecamm tutorial, but just give you an idea of what's possible. If I now reduce the size of this video, let me just change the shape of it, and we'll change that to, let's make it tall. And I'll put this over here. Let's say I wanted to share that Gamma presentation. Well, we can also add another overlay, which is called a screen share overlay. And if I add that in, it's going to default to one of my screens. It's picked my primary desktop. But if I just go and change this to my third desktop, or wrong one, let's try the fourth desktop. There we go. This is the desktop that has the Gamma slides and some other things in there as well. But all I want to share is just my Gamma presentation. So we've got the whole of the the screen shared there. But what I want to do is just hold down the Option key, and I can just basically crop in just to those Gamma slides. Obviously, that's a little bit small on the screen. Let me make that a bit bigger, and then I can crop in the top here, maybe crop in the edges. So now I've basically just cropped in just entirely to that presentation, and now we can make that a little bit bigger. Note that my camera is sort of behind the presentation. Maybe you might want to change that. So in the overlays window, we can easily just move the camera above the screen share like that. And now suddenly we've got two scenes. We've got this one, which is my main camera, and we've got this one, which is my camera and the slide deck that we've just created in a matter of minutes with Gamma. So if I come out of demo mode, now technically, I mean, we've got all we need to actually record a course. If we've got our slide deck, we've got a nice background, we've got around the outside of my camera, and that is the same background that we've got in that scene where we're creating our slides, or sharing our slides, I should say. And so this would be really easy now for me to create a course. I could have a whole series of lessons set up with those slides, and I could say, you know, welcome to lesson 1. We're now going to talk about setting up your home recording studio. I could go over to my slides just with the click of a mouse, but we'll talk about how to set this up in Stream Deck in a moment. Now I'm going to talk through this particular slide. Then I could move on to the next slide as well, and I could just deliver all of my content. You'll see that we've got that wherever it is, that bit of movement going on with that animated image that we created earlier as well. And you can literally just deliver your content like this. Hit the end button when you've got to the end of the video. Maybe because it's in different steps, maybe you want to just take these one at a time. Say, hello, welcome to video 1, where we are going to be talking about setting up your home recording studio. And then you flick into the side, and then you can say, you know, in the next video, we're going to be talking we're going to be introducing step 1, or whatever that is. Then you hit the end button. So in Ecamm, you've just got a record button down at the bottom. It says finish at the moment because I'm actually live streaming, but ordinarily there's just a record and end button. So you could then just end the recording like that. And then you could say, whoops, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Let me share the correct one. That would help. I was doing live demo mode of my other desktop there. So yeah, normally there's a record button just down at the bottom here. And then you could get ready then to move into the second video, which might be about the plan your content and studio purpose. And so you've got a slide set up for that. So you can say, hello, welcome to video 2. In this one, we're going to be talking about planning your content. You can switch over to that scene, and then you can deliver the content on that, hit the end button, and now you've just recorded your second video for your course. So it's really easy to create this flow. Now you'll notice that I'm kind of looking back and forth, and that's because at the moment, what I'm doing is I am activating the different scenes here in Ecamm by going to the scene window. These are the two scenes we created. There is this one, our new scene, which is just me, and then there is this one, which is the one where we're sharing our screen. And by the way that I shared the screen there, you could do exactly the same, but just actually be sharing, you know, a Google Chrome browser, a Safari browser, or, you know, some other application that's as part of the content that you want to present. But obviously, well, I say obviously, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to actually be clicking around and doing all of these things yourself? Well, that's where the Stream Deck comes in. So let me just quickly introduce you to Stream Deck and how that helps with the flow of this. And if I just quickly, first of all, show you sort of my desk setup that I've got at the moment. So here you'll see my, this is technically my temporary setup, although it looks a bit over the top for that. But here you can see I've got my laptop here. I've got Ecamm over on this screen. So this is where I've got all of my Ecamm controls. I'm looking in a teleprompter. That's where I can see my output. So the teleprompter is really a sort of game changer. There are a few different brands around. I like this one because it is the Look and See teleprompter, and then I'm using a 12.5-inch teleprompter screen, which is a Lilliput. It gives me a really large screen to work with. There is the Elgato prompter, which is really good because it's just plug and play. So it's a slightly smaller screen, but it works really well. The thing that's really great about this is as I'm switching my scenes, I'm able to see what's going on in the teleprompter, and so I'm able to see the output. So some people call it a confidence monitor for that purpose, because you get to you have the confidence, I guess, of knowing what you're putting out. It also is better than just speaking to a cold lens, the cold, heartless glass of the lens. You're actually speaking to, well, technically you're speaking to yourself, but you can see the output. It's just a little bit less intimidating than a lens, if indeed you are intimidated by that. But then what I've got over this side is, this is where all the content that I'm sharing is. So I've got my slides there that we just created in Gamma. Here's my Stream Deck application that I was sharing. We've got some other things going on down here. You don't need to have all these multiple monitors, by the way. It works equally with just one or two. But it is useful, in my view, if you can actually see everything that you're working with without things being over the top of each other. So if you've got multiple windows that you're sharing and one's on top of the other, and it's something that's going to add friction, that's where it's useful to have all of the things visible to you at any given time. But what I want to talk about, though, is these little things down here, and these are the Stream Decks, and these are essentially just USB keyboards that are programmable. So each of these keys performs a particular action, and the Ecamm Live has got a really complete list of all of the actions that you might want to use in Ecamm that you can use with Stream Deck. And that means that you can program it so that, for example, all of these buttons here are sharing different scenes. So that is my main scene in Ecamm. This is the mobile phone portable video that you're looking at right now. Sorry for the shakiness. But if I press this one, it's going to go back to my main scene. And if I press the other one there, it's going to take us back to the mobile view. These are different camera angles, which are actually not set up in this temporary studio, and these are all the different screen shares that I've got sharing different portions of the screen. So this one, for example, shares the top left portion of my screen, and that corresponds to the top left portion of the screen, which would be this. So if I press that button on my Stream Deck, then it's going to share that top left portion of my screen just like that. So these are all scenes that I've set up in Ecamm, and then I'm controlling them all with the Stream Deck. And you can also control things like graphics that you want to appear on screen. But the thing about it is, don't be overwhelmed by the number of buttons and actions that there are, because you really just need to start with the absolute basics that you need for the production that you are doing. So if I share my Stream Deck screen with you, you can see that this is where we program the app. And all we're going to do is we're going to come into the Ecamm Live plugin over here, click on Run Scene, or rather drag the Run Scene action. And this is linked to Ecamm, and it's going to pull in a list of all of your scenes. Now, I didn't actually name those two new scenes that we created, but one of them was just called, conveniently, new scene. And then the other one, if I drag that on, so I'm going to go to Run Scene here, and then I'm going to call select from this one, copy of new scene. So basically those are those two scenes that we created, and you'll see it does give you a little preview of it as well, so you can see which one is which, but you can go on and add icons, you can rename them and things like that. But the other thing that you might want to add on there is the record button. Now at the moment it says finish because I am actually live, so I don't want to accidentally press that, but basically if you drag that button on, that's going to be the button to start recording. It's also going to be the button to stop recording as well when you've finished. What you may also want to do is drag the pause button on. Now, I don't tend to use this. However, it is useful if you are recording a longer video and you think that you might want to have it all done in one take, but you might need to take a little break, let's say, if you want to refer to your notes. So you could have the pause button on, and that would mean that you could start the recording, and then, if you want to just glance across at your notes to check what you need to be talking about, you could always press the pause button, look down, check what you need to say, look back again, and press pause to resume. And what that would mean is you're going to then end up with a single file at the end that is all one take video, so still no edits required, but you've just got that pause button. So it can be useful for that. But essentially, all that this is now is you've just got these two buttons to switch between scenes and a finish button there as well. Now, what you might want to do as well is if you are using Keynote or the Gamma app, then you could have a keyboard shortcut, which is like advance to the next slide. Now, Keynote and PowerPoint have their own plugins, so there is a button specifically for next slide. With Gamma, that is run in the browser, and so you use the left and right arrow keys to trigger that. So there is a way that you can do that, though. You can go into the system and you can add in a hotkey, and then what you do is just click in this click to assign button, and then hit the button there, and that is the arrow for the the right arrow. So that's going to go to the next slide. It does mean that you have to be in the Safari app when you press that, because obviously if you press the arrow key and you're not in the Safari or Chrome or wherever you're running Gamma, then it's not going to trigger it. There is a little hack that you can do around this, which is if I create a multi-action, I don't want to go too deep into Stream Deck here as well, but if you create a multi-action, you can go to Open and then select the app, and the app would be Safari. So if I go into here and type in Safari, now obviously Safari is already open, but the little hack is that if Safari is already open, what it does is it makes Safari the active application. So we've got a multi-action, which first of all is going to open Safari, or because it's open, it's going to make it the active application. And then we're going to go through and do the same thing as we did before, add in that hotkey. So drag that over and then click to assign, and we've got that right arrow. So now what that means is when I press this button here, this multi-action, and let me just delete that one, that is still going to advance to the next slide. So what we've got now is just 3 or 4 buttons on here, and coming back to how we use this to create our courses, we've got our slide deck created in Gamma, so we can sort of go through those slides as we want. We've just completed the slide, which was the plan your content studio and studio purpose in our little example here. So then step 2, what was that? Choose the right location was the name of that video. So let's talk about like how we can now use these buttons here to create our video. Effectively, what we're going to do, if I wasn't live streaming, this button would say record. So we press the record button. First of all, we would switch by pressing this button to go back to our main scene. If I press the button to the right of it, it's going to go to our screen share. So I'm literally now just using those buttons that we've just created. Here you can see them on the Stream Deck. We've got 2 buttons, and if I press those, you'll see that it's just switching back and forth between this view and this view. So that's what those buttons are doing. And then also, if I switch to the view that's sharing the slides, and then I press this other button, now you can see how it's just cycling through those slides for us. So once again, if we're going to go to this choose the right location video, then we would just press that record button, say, now we're going to talk about choosing the right location for your studio space. Let's dive into it. Press the other button on Stream Deck. It comes to our slides that were created in Gamma in a matter of minutes. And then we might say, let's move on to step 2. We're going to press the other button that we created on Stream Deck. It's going to cycle through to the next one. And then we might talk about this, or we might press the record button again to actually end that recording. And then now we've got another video all complete, all done in Ecamm really simply. One of the things I love about Ecamm as well, because of this way that I build my scenes up where I've got my overlays for all of my different screen shares and things like that all set up in Ecamm. And then I've got a different background. You'll notice how the background that I'm using right now is different to my usual background. Well, all that we need to do if we want to change up the complete look of this is we can just go into our background here. So let me hide this image. You'll see that this is made up of just basically a background image and a little sort of animation thing that adds a bit of movement to it. Well, if I hide that, then I've got another one here, which is the one that we started off with. And that is made up from, first of all, a background image like this. There is then some movement that's added to it. And then there is this little swirls or whatever. It's part of the branding that I use on a lot of my other assets. And then we've got that same camera. But what that means is I can have a collection of scenes set up that I'm controlling with a set of Stream Deck actions here. So these are these buttons to switch between all these different screens, main scene, my different camera angles, the different screen shares and so on. But what it means is if I come back over to here and I just sort of switch out the background, let's see if I just go through a couple of those scenes like that, you can see what it looks like with that sort of same background. Well, just by changing up the background image, suddenly I'm still using the same Stream Deck buttons, but I've got a completely different look to it. So it means that if you do want to change the branding between your productions or between your different courses, then it's easy to do just by dropping in a new image into the background. As I say, this isn't intended to be a full course on Ecamm by any stretch, but it's just intended to show you how whatever you're seeing people doing with Ecamm, however complex it looks, when it comes to just creating simple tutorial style content for a course or indeed for YouTube, it doesn't have to be overly complex. It could be as simple as just 2 scenes, maybe another scene for a screen share. Maybe you might want to get fancy and add in another camera angle, but it really can just be a couple of scenes, a couple of Stream Deck buttons, and another button to record and another button to advance through those slides. And that's as much as it needs to be. Part of the overwhelm that I think people have when it comes to the tech setup is, seeing people's setups and feeling like, oh, it's really complex. Well, the thing is, start really basic and then just build things up little bit by little bit as you go along. But then before you know it, having quickly created your slides in Gamma and having quickly brought them into Ecamm and recorded a series of 2 and 3 and 4 minute videos, you've suddenly then got a collection of videos, and you might well have a module that's recorded in no time at all. And in the same way that we talked about the good thing about the modules being short, or the videos being short, I should say, the lessons, is that it makes it more bingeable for the person watching. It kind of also makes it more easy for you to get into the process of recording as well, or at least makes it easier for me. If I think I've got to record a 1 hour video, suddenly that seems a little bit more daunting than thinking, well, I'll tell you what, let me just record the first 3 videos and then I can record the others later. And then usually what happens is you record 3 and you think, well, I might as well just do 1 more and just 1 more. And it makes it easier to what's the opposite of binging something when it's actually creating something? Easier to get momentum. I guess that's the thing, isn't it? To get the momentum to create the content. And then before you know it, you've got the course all done and dusted. And there is something really I think good. Everybody talks about authenticity. Well, the one take method of doing this is, you can't help but be authentic if you are not editing yourself. And so it's the fastest way to just show up. And if you do have any issues with camera confidence, I should have got this queued up as well. I do have a quick course, which is a free course actually, called the Confidence Switch. So let me just bring that up, because it's all about how to get confident on camera. Because I think too many people have got these myths around camera confidence and how you somehow need to get confident before you can create the content. So I'll just drop a link into this in the chat, and I'll make sure I go back and drop it into the description as well. It's takeonetech.io/confidence switch. This is a really short course. It's only 7 lessons. You can just sign up immediately and go and watch all 7 lessons. But you can also, there's an email that goes out. I also recommend just watch 1 a day, because it gives time for the ideas of it to sink in, but you can just get immediate access in there. Because and as you can see, it's completely free. What that helps with, though, is getting over this idea of camera confidence. And I'll just sort of bring this back to, I always talked about how the one take method that I adopted with my courses and with Take One Tech, the reason for it was that I was trying to get over my perfectionism. And I always put it down to perfectionism, that I was trying to escape from that perfectionist trap. But actually, it was only relatively recently when I dug a little bit deeper that I tried to understand what perfectionism is and what it was actually stemming from with me. And I realized that it was that I was trying to perform confidence. I was trying to not slip up because I wanted people to see somehow that I was never making a mistake, and I thought that was what confidence was. And it was only actually when I was doing the Digital Stage Summit in March, end of March, and there were a few technical issues, and somebody just made a comment in the chat or in a private message, I can't remember where, but just said like, oh, you look really confident handling all of that. And actually, confidence never really came into it. I never felt that, oh, I'm confident in doing this. I was just, dealing with things as they came up, and it wasn't something I was thinking about. But crucially, I wasn't worried about what people were thinking about me while I was doing it. And that comes from a mindset shift of thinking about ultimately the whole purpose for creating a course. It's not about you. It's not about me. So if you're the one creating the course, it's not about you. For me creating the course, it's not about me. It's all about you and the potential for change that course can offer, the potential transformation. And when you think about things from the perspective of the transformation that you're providing for people or the help that you're giving, and thinking about it from being in a point of service, suddenly, the idea of anything, being about you doesn't come into it. And that's where I think people get hung up about the camera confidence thing. Is they're looking into the lens, they've got no feedback from anything. It's not natural. When you are in a conversation, you're seeing the little micro expressions of people as they're either nodding along or looking puzzled or whatever they're doing as you're talking, and you can pick up on that, whereas you don't get that when you're in front of the lens. But there are these few different things that you can think about, which the course goes into a little bit. to help you sort of get over those. But I will, by the way, have a book out about this that goes into a lot more depth later on this year. But for the time being, there is that free course. If you want to learn about Ecamm Live, guess what? Here's another free course. I've got the Ecamm Live Masterclass, which is at ecammlivemasterclass.com. If I can just spell this. Where is it now? It is. I should have this already as a shortcut. Let me just bring this up a second. So the Ecamm Live Masterclass is like the complete masterclass on how to do everything with Ecamm. I'll tell you what it is. My text expander shortcut is not working for some reason. Let me try this a different way. I'll bring it up. Isn't it shocking how I can't even get access to my own things on here, my own courses? Let me drop this one in. That might work. Let's see. There we go. I've got it on Stream Deck. Should have guessed. So there is, as I say, yeah, the free Ecamm Live Masterclass at ecammlivemasterclass.com. That is an on-demand course, and I've had over 1,000 people have gone through that course, and the feedback has been really great. What I'm actually running in July, end of July, is a live cohort training. I know that people work differently. Some people like on-demand courses. Other people, I know a lot of people get on-demand courses and then don't actually go through with them. So that happens all the time. I can see from the stats how many people sign up and then like stop at module 1 and don't go any further. But if you do want a live experience, I've got the Ecamm Live Accelerator, which is coming up towards the end of July as well. It's July the 21st through to the February the 8th, and that is 2 weeks of intensive live training, and so you can get access to that. That is a paid course because obviously it's a live training with directly with me. 2 weeks where it's going to go through everything from start to finish with Ecamm, but specifically the first week is going to be about the foundations of Ecamm. So this is where we talk about basically understanding how to get Ecamm set up. So as I say, it's 2 weeks. Monday is about setting up Ecamm for success, talking about some of the principles that I've talked about today in more depth about setting up your scenes and bringing in your cameras. Tuesday is about designing your production. That's where we're going to be talking about the individual scenes and the sort of flow of what you're creating. Whether you're using this for live production of courses, of videos for YouTube, for live streams, or if you're using it for meetings, webinars, workshops, and things like that, thinking about your production, bringing in your own branded assets. And we talked a little bit today about how to set your background. Well, that's what we're going to be going into in a lot more detail on the Tuesday. Then we'll talk about all the different ways that you can use screen sharing, and that can be for just sharing a window on your screen, or indeed for bringing in presentations and things like that as well. Thursday, we'll go into a lot more detail on how to integrate presentations with Ecamm. I showed you one method here of just bringing in a Gamma presentation, but there are other ways that you can integrate presentations more deeply into Ecamm as well, either as PDFs or as live presentations with live video with Keynote. And then on Friday, we'll be talking about how to really get the most out of using Ecamm with Stream Deck, because that's where you can then have your sort of mission control built exactly around how you need to use it. And I'll be sharing some hacks and some little tips about how to get the most, as I say, out of Stream Deck with Ecamm. So the point about this is, week 1 is the foundations of Ecamm Live as live production software, because the thing that is a real revelation when you start using Ecamm, maybe you're using Ecamm or you're interested in it because you want to record videos. Maybe it's for a course, maybe it's for YouTube. In my case, I started looking at this originally for course content. I created the YouTube channel to practice the process of making the content. But for me, there was this real revelation, which was like, oh, once you actually understand how to use Ecamm for live production, now we can use this in our Zoom meetings, in our events, in our webinars and things like that. Now, you may be thinking, well, duh, obviously, but it wasn't obvious to me when I first got into Ecamm. And I think a lot of people think that, they think it's either purely a live streaming tool and don't realize you can record with it. That happens. I've had people ask me, is there any way that we can just record directly without streaming? Absolutely there is. But then there's other people who don't realize that all of this live production that I'm doing now on this stream could equally be going into a video, into a meeting, into a workshop, a webinar, a live event. I mean, I did the Digital Stage Summit earlier on this year, 33 speakers over 3 days. It was all done with Ecamm live into an event. But the point is, the foundations of Ecamm, once you understand the muscle memory of switching between scenes and things like that, that is all just done with Stream Deck, and then you can apply that to whatever use case you want. So week 2, then we focus in on the specific use cases. So Monday is all about recording, the process of getting set up to record confidently. Then Tuesday is about live streaming. So that's got some slight nuances there where we want to potentially bring in comments and things like that. So we talk about that and the various different ways you can stream to different platforms and so on. So that's focused on that use case. Wednesday is online meetings. And I said, you can just take this into Zoom, and there's various ways that we can, and Teams and Google Meet and all those others as well. There is a direct integration from Ecamm with Zoom, so that's why on Wednesday there's a bit more of a focus on that, but we will talk about how to use it to level up all of your meetings and integrate tools like Stream Live for audience engagement in your meetings and things like that. Thursday then is talking about hosting successful events. That's where you maybe want to have like multi-speaker events, maybe bring in guests and things like that as well. And then Friday is all about execution and overcoming barriers, because as we talked about at the beginning of this, sometimes it's a case of, yeah, I've got all of the gear, all of the idea, but I'm still not doing it. That's one step further than all of the gear and no idea. Sometimes people do have all of the knowledge, all of the understanding to actually do it, but there's something that's still stopping them. And so on Friday of the second week, that's when we'll be talking about that as well. So there will be a couple of bonuses thrown in here along the way, and I've got a couple of ideas for sort of a couple of follow-on sessions that we'll be adding in. But for the time being, it's a 2-week program, and as I say, you can get your spot there. It is a paid program. It's $197 for the 2-week program. You do get lifetime access, though, to the Digital Stage Network, which is our private community for all of the folks who are doing these programs and my other academy and so on. So you get access to that for life afterwards as well. So that is a paid program. But as I say, if you want to save a few pennies, or you would rather just learn on demand, there is still the Ecamm Live Masterclass, which is totally free as well, and that's just an entirely learn on demand thing. But it's funny, I always thought that because personally for me, I like the learn on demand thing. I can sort of take it at my own pace. But then somebody once said to me, about, I think it was about the Stream Deck course. They said, I haven't signed up to your Stream Deck course, but whenever you do a live version, let me know, because I only like to do live courses. So I know that, what works for some people is not the same as for everyone else. And there is something to be said for that accountability that comes with going at a certain pace through a structured program and having the accountability and tasks to do along the way as well. So yeah, that's coming up later. And if you're on my mailing list, no doubt you'll get all the details about that. Let me just check in with some more comments here. Hello, thank you so much for showing up. Welcome to the live stream. We've got Bernhard, thanks so much, and Keisha as well. Great to see you here as well. Sorry we didn't get more chance to hang out at last year's Creator Camp, and I'm not going this year, unfortunately. But so I don't know if you were planning to go, but yeah, it was great to at least see you, Keisha, because as you know, I came home early from Ecamm's Creator Camp last October, but you were one of the few that I did see, so it was nice to see you. And great little thought-provoking course. That's about the free Confidence Switch course. And yeah, glad you like the Ecamm Live Masterclass as well. Hey, Mark, thanks for being here too. I hope all is well with you. Not spoken for a while, have we? But yeah, thanks. Glad you enjoyed the live stream. And let's have a little look where else we are. And we've got Brian as well, who's also in the backstage. So great info. Now, I'm going to keep this down to, we're almost at an hour. Of course, sorry, Ron. I missed the name there. So yeah, MLM Mastery, of course, Ron. Great to see you, one of our Academy members here as well. I don't know why I didn't make that connection. But anyway, yes, great to see you here. I'm going to keep this down to an hour today. I'm going to be on a stream on David Cruis's channel, and I actually wish I got the link. I don't think it is his Appy Dave channel, although I do highly recommend, if you are using well, if you're doing anything with AI, let me just rephrase this. If you are alive, I would recommend checking out Happy Dave's channel, because he's just an absolute wizard when it comes to everything to do with AI. He's got a programming background, and is just at the forefront of all things AI. Highly recommend checking out his channel. I've just dropped a link into the chat into YouTube. It is at Happy Dave. Now, I actually think we're going live on one of his other channels, but the reason why I mention it here is because one of the things that he's been doing recently is looking at using Claude's programming to really accelerate the process of creating apps using AI. Now, he is a programmer himself, and so he's really well positioned to understand what these things are doing, and then also how it's accelerating his process. But what we're doing the live stream about today, in just about an hour or an hour and a half, is really interesting, which is using AI, and specifically the Claude app development platform, to develop widgets that can be used within Ecamm. So if you think about, like, oh, I want a timer that's going to do something, or I want something to come up on screen to demonstrate something or other, or whatever it is, then that's what we're going to be focused on in the live stream. And what we're going to do is actually go through and build things. When I say we, Dave is going to do it. I'm going to be there to help with maybe coming up with a few ideas of things that we might create, but we haven't done any planning or preparation for this. It's just a case of showing what's possible with AI. So I don't actually think, unfortunately, it's on this channel. Or if it is, it's not scheduled. He's probably just going to schedule it shortly. But what I will do is I will drop a link into the video description for the replay, and as soon as I've got that link, I will drop it in there as well. But definitely go and follow David. He's an amazing guy doing some amazing things with AI. And if you are interested in Ecamm, which presumably is why you're here, then this is going to be a great thing to look at, as well as integrating AI widget generation into Ecamm. Really interesting stuff. So with that said, and glad Liz is watching as well. Ron, great to see you both here. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up here for now to go and get prepared for the next stream. Thanks so much for watching. Links to everything I've mentioned will be down in the description as well. At some point, I'll add another video up there for those watching on the replay. Thanks so much for all of the channel members too. Have an awesome day, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.